What is going on, New World, and what is going on, my Inner Circle Lounge members? You guys are here because you want to raid. It's raid night, and you're like, "Yo, Nelson, what builds do I need? How do I get through this thing?" So I got you covered. Let's dive right into it. First off, disclaimer: this is going to be more of a what gear to run, what things to look out for in the raid, more so than it is a step-by-step every single mechanic part of the raid. This is what you need to know to be looking out for. That's going to help you be successful. Your raid team's got you for the rest, but you need to know this for yourself to be as best set up and prepared when running. I recommend every person have a 2 sets going in. We're going to need a raid set that has strike and slash, and we're going to need a raid set that has nature on it. All right, this is a 10-man activity, 2 teams of 5. You're going to make sure that you are ready to switch in and out of these gear sets as you need it per the activity you're doing. All right, so very first thing on our raid strike slash build, we are trying to aim for 30-30 split, 25-30, 35-35, whatever. We're trying to get 20 plus at the bare minimum on each spot. I do have some slash conditioning on 2 pieces of my gear here, which doesn't really help the initial strike, but it does help if I'm taking like multiple damage. It does help dampen that. So I have the minimum 20 slash, and then I have the 30 strike in there too as well. Both bosses and ads will be doing this sort of damage. Of course, you're gonna have slash coming from the corvids that you're gonna be needing to focus down. Boars are gonna be doing a lot of strike damage and charging you, and of course, you got the charges from the spiders too as well. So you're gonna want to make sure that you got your wards set up correctly. You're gonna be doing this by putting moonstones into your gear for slash, and you're gonna be putting also jaspers on gear for your strike. You would want to run either a strike or slash neck with this, and you're going to gem accordingly until you get to the numbers that you want. You'll be able to check this by hovering over your stats in the bottom left. It's going to give you your full stat breakdown. By the way, for anyone that has any questions, what does standard damage resistance mean underneath elemental damage? It looks kind of weird and off to people. What this is this is going to be where things that are going to come in like bleed and keenly jagged, that is what that number is protecting you from. That 20% standard damage resistance, that is what that number does. Is actually bleed actually has its own category now underneath elemental resist, and that plays off of none other than your slash resistances that you have on your gear. So for instance, I've got 5% here on the slash resistance. I'm gonna take off these boots, and you're going to see that 15% standard resistance go down by 5% because we dropped slash. So for all my peoples out there that want to know, slash resistance does help reduce bleed damage. So there's a little side tip for you guys. Moving on. Stat structure. Make sure you have stats, and swapping sets is easy, okay? We're starting in strike, and we want to be able to put on our nature and see our stats relatively not change very much, right? We want to see that 350 to 200 plus. We want to see all these numbers not change as much when we're switching in between our sets, so that allows for you to still hit those nodes that you want to. 350 strength, 200 plus in dex, 50 con. You want to make sure those numbers aren't falling down or changing when you're swapping, so it's a smooth transition and you're ready for the next part of the raid as soon as possible. Let's talk gear here a little bit further. Per usual, we want enchanted ward on everything we can. Things like strike and slash conditioning are bonuses, and they're okay, but not necessarily needed. Just make sure you gemmed accordingly and you're hitting those thresholds of at least 20 to 25% of each one of those, slash and strike, and you should be pretty solid going in. You want a split of both. You don't want either or, it's both. We want at least 20 to 25 slash and strike, okay? That's what we need going with. For your build, you want to make sure you have the right weapon talents, whether that's leeching cyclone or that is fortifying perforate. Make sure you got those. Rapier players, things like leeching flurry, omni evade. You're going to want to make sure you have those things on your gear or weapons as needed. So moving forward, spear users, enfeebling skewer on your spear. Do not let me catch you with this on your gear. It does not have the same potency and effect, and your team will not be happy if they know you have it on your gear and not your spear. So just a big reminder to my spear users out there, just make sure you got it on your spear. Moving on, you're also going to want to make sure you come prepared with your necessary consumables as well. I recommend bringing powerful incense along. You're going to want your powerful honing stones. You're going to also want to bring your angry earth coating, and also your angry earth your Angry Earth ward as well, your ward pots. So you're going to want ward pots and coatings when you come into this raid as well, along with the preferable stat food that you want, whether that be strength, dex, intel, whatever floats your boat. Bring that with you. I even recommend bringing maybe some backup moonstones and jaspers just in case. You never know. Maybe you got to swap something out. You need something done for the raid team or something, or maybe you want to help a brother out, help out a friend. They're asking for a gem. You could be that guy and give them some help, right? So just make sure you come accordingly, ready to go. So this is how you would set up your actual raid strike / set. Okay, now we're going to swap over to our nature set. Nature set, you would want this to be fully gemmed out, 100%, just straight ambers. Okay, I would have an amber here on these boots, but it's shared between my strike / set. So unfortunately, I don't always put an amber here, but sometimes if it's like a little bit of a lull before the next encounter I've already swapped, I may swap this out real quick, right? Who knows? Probably not, but I usually just run it like this. As long as you have roughly 50 to 55% nature, you should be perfectly fine. But aim for the top, aim for the 60, aim for the 63. Treat this like an M3. I am definitely not telling you just do 50. I'm just saying, if you're playing right and handling business and you're doing your thing and you're doing whatever, you shouldn't have a problem. 50 to 55, you should be okay. But why leave it on the table if you can? So you would want to go for 60 to 60 plus. The only thing that makes it difficult is a lot of us run attuned leather pants, which means the only thing you may have to do is swap your gem, the one gem on the pants in and out to make sure you're at it. But that's totally up to you to do it. I have ran this many times flawlessly with 50 to 55% nature and not had a single problem. So when do you use some of these other consumables you bring along? So in this raid, you will go through an arena zone where it will be full nature, and that is where I would definitely want to say pop an incense. By full nature, I mean there's just tons of nature damage. You still will get your strikes and slash and stuff, but it's more nature and the ticks you get on you that you got to worry about more so than anything. You will have people cleansing and other things like that to help you out, but I'd recommend popping an incense here to help ward out some of those ticks of that nature damage once you get poisoned on you. So this just helps you be more resilient to that. And then also the final boss, when you get to Medusa, she will be dropping pools of nasty gunk of nature stuff that will put poison and ticks on you, and incense helps fight that effect too as well to prolong it, give you more time. And then of course you got the full nature rock in here too as well, so that's going to help reduce that incoming damage considerably as well. It's all about survivability and living, right? So when we're in raid groups, we want to make sure that we have as much survivability as we can as possible. I also recommend bring a range backup too. So if you're not on eggs, which eggs require a slash weapon to really break those down, so that's what the GS is there for as well too. I find myself on egg duty at times, and as long as I'm not the only spear, I will break away and I'll run and kill eggs too as well with slash damage. Bring it for, if you're running spear, a good offhand, believe it or not, here's a PSA for the community here, a little tidbit. You can run an Inferno as an offhand, and the Inferno giving you range also works as a kind of a de facto finisher, because you will get 15% damage when you hit targets within 15 meters, and it scales off of strength as well, and it does not mess up your stat switch if you do your stats like I show. With your magnify and strength, you will be able to hot swap to this guy and use this as a way to have a range in case you need to shoot a flower up top to keep the snooze from happening, because the flowers, the blooms up top in the last encounter will be up there. You need to take those down so it doesn't drop all that sleepy poison on you guys and put you to sleep. And you're also going to maybe have to shoot the bloom on the back of the boss. So having the Inferno or a other range weapon, you can also take things like the hatchet as well as an option. And I've even seen some people do blunderbuss. In my opinion, BB is the hardest one because the range with hitting the flowers, it just doesn't have the range for it. So hatchet, fire staff, like the Inferno offhand would be good. You could even do a bow if you wanted to, or a musket. Who knows? You may want that weapon from the killing of the boss, right? So this second set, full nature, make sure you have it in place. That's the sets and how you're going to swap. This one, the nature set's going to be pretty much for the arena and the last boss. Of course, your strike set's going to be for anywhere else and it's going to be for your first and second bosses. Quick tidbits on the bosses. Let's get through those, and I'm going to give you some tips on those guys going through. Once again, not a full in-depth walkthrough, but this is going to give you some tips on just things to look out for in the raid to give you the best heads up as I can. I'll probably do another video later, maybe going step by step, really diving in, but let's go through the overview. First boss drops jewelry. This is where you're going to get things like your hoplite amulet, earring, and also your ring itself. This boss will jump, he will shoot out spikes, he will shoot out rocks, he will do a leap AoE and smash the ground. That's where this strike and slash stuff is in play that you want to watch out for, with the tail whips that he does as well. So strat for this boss, stack on the hind leg, and you're going to want to avoid the rocks that fly out. Whenever he shoots out the spikes on his back, you want to get those knocked out, all while paying attention to his positioning to make sure a stray rock doesn't smack you in the back of the head and kill you abruptly. So kill those guys a lot. So make sure when he goes to his jumping phase, you want to let him get in the air and then roll. So it'll look like you're going to miss and not iframe it, but I promise you won't. When he's at the top of his jump, roll, and you will not get hit by the AoE slam that he does when he comes down. Also, the pillars, there are pillars that do spring up. The pillars you can choose to use or not. The pillars will help you, can shoot and affect his stam, but honestly, we found it to be better just to stack with the boss and just knock and just push. Last but not least, a big one too, with your group, make sure you strategize the stam breaks. When you break his stam, he will go down on his side, and that will give you time to do more damage to him. When he's on his side, you have increased damage output. You would want to rotate to whatever side his back is on. When he's laying down, he will fall left or right of whatever position you're on, and you would want to DPS pump. That's your window to do a lot of extra hardcore damage to him. So make sure positioning your tanks coordinating with your healers and with you guys, because you do not want this phase to happen when he's up against a wall or next to a wall, because he can fall to where you can't rotate and it sucks and you miss that DPS phase. It really sucks. Just pump, kill, avoid the tail and the swipes. When he's doing rocks, he also slams his tail from behind him, so that's not a safe zone there. You want to be careful. Things like riposte will help you avoid those attacks. And even when you do your flurry, you'll have that immunity ability. He also drops the Azoth Pants, which is an artifact that you can pick up from there too as well. Requires you to be a medium, but does give you 15% increased elemental damage. So definitely look out for that drop from that boss, from the very first boss in Echidna. So moving on to the second boss, we have Typhon. Typhon, he will transition 3 times. His mechanics are pretty simple, but they are strong, but they are something that can kill you quick if you don't pay attention to. You're going to stack on his rear per usual, attack, do damage. He'll have a phase, he'll scream and bring out ads. Kill Corvids first, as always. Throughout this entire raid, Corvids are going to be your main target to kill first. Watch for the red areas that cover the ground. You will get spikes that will cut that particular area off from you being able to traverse, because you will take major damage through them. So you want to make sure you're rotating and you're giving call outs to your team of which way you're going. You're also going to watch for the black whirlwind that comes around the boss. He will put eyes on someone, and those eyes are going to be the ones in which he is going to use. He's going to be targeting that person to jump and lunge at them. LOS the boss, get behind a pillar. Make sure you got a couple of feet between you and the pillar, because the boss will smash through the pillar, and sometimes if you're too close, it will actually hit you as well and knock you. So be careful. Just make sure you have the pillar in between you and the boss. Similar to Ennead with the charging Minotaur, you want to make sure that you have that in between, so he bonks that and he goes stunned. DPS the boss. The more DPS of the boss, the faster the phases go and the less ads you get. The longer you take per spot, the less pillars you have, and also too, the more Corvids he will spawn each DPS phase. So there you go. Last boss. Let's get to the last boss. Let's talk about Broodmother Medusa here. On Broodmother Medusa, you want to make sure that this is where you're going to get your weapons from. The last boss, I'm sorry if I didn't say, Typhoon drops armor, by the way. So you're going to get your armor drops from Typhoon. Now let's talk Medusa. Medusa is going to be where everybody's here for the weapons, right? This is where you're going to get stuff like your hoplite spear, and your hoplite weapons. Everyone's seeking right now at 725. So here, communication is key. If you're asleep, let people know I need to cleanse. You're poisoned, make sure you're stacking in the right locations. Cleanses should go on the back of the boss. Do not hit the boss with the cleanse because that provokes him to charge. But as long as we have proper positioning of the cleanses, you will cleanse and you will be good to sit there, stack, and do damage. As make sure your healers, make sure you're dropping sacreds on that pack and know and kind of pre-plan with your team where you're going to stack, so those sacreds will keep your team alive. He does wiggle his tail and do damage to anybody back there, so just be careful of that. Blooms up top need to die fast so thorns don't spawn on the bottom and you don't have an issue. Kill the bloom on his back when it comes up. Eggs when they shoot out, make sure the eggs are killed by slash damage. Make sure somebody's running great swords are really good for this. Make sure somebody's running a couple to go ahead and knock those guys off. So, and also the guys that are rotating for the eggs, you can help clean the vines off so that we can get back, so you can get back to cleansing, right? So we can't get cleansed if you don't get those vines open. So you definitely want to make sure you DPS and pump, right? DPS, pump. Elemental band drops from this boss too. It is currently disabled right now, which is sad. But if you are elemental band enjoyer and you got the hopium up, that we will see this back in action before the end of the holidays, that's where you get it from. But I guarantee you, we won't see this ring back active until 2025. I put monies on it. But that is pretty much it. That is how you can set yourself up for success when doing the Hive of Gorgons raid. Guys, if you enjoy the content, please smash the sub button, hit the like. I probably missed a few mechanics and missed a few things like throughout the explanation. I'm not perfect, but if anything I missed, drop in the comments below. Help the family out, help the community, and I hope to see you guys over on twitch.tv/babyfnelson, and come hang out and say hello. Thank you so much for viewing today, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later, everyone.